Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Season 8, The Water Rats. Alan Simmons tells the story of ventriloquism, which sadly ends in heartache for the Simmons family. But Alan and his little pal Denny now perform a ventriloquist act in their brother's memory. Dennis Simmons, this is for you. I first saw Alan and his brother Keith at the Weymouth Pavilion supporting Keith Harris when I was 14 years old. I was in awe of their hilarious and unique talent. And as Alan tells us, it's an act not everyone can pull off. I often see Alan and his wife Julia at events and shows, and they've always given me their time and encouragement. Alan eventually quit the Simmons Brothers. We find out why today on Eyes and Teeth. Welcome, Water Rat Alan Simmons.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everyone.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, despite everything. I was doing every morning a walk, but I've reduced the walking a bit. But Julia and I go out for walks as well. So we're right on the edge of the town of Louth in Lincolnshire. So we've got open country. If we go out the front door and turn left, we go past, I think, 9 houses, and then it's open country.
Wonderful. Well, that's a wonderful place to walk. Yeah. We like walking with the kids, actually. We try and just walk around the block and try and see some sheep. And there are sheep, there's fields and stuff, you know. So one way we can walk to the beach. Another way you can walk through housing estates. Another way you can walk up on the downs in Eastbourne. So it's nice to have the choice, isn't it? It's nice.
And also, added bonus, at the back of our house, we've got the River Love running.
Oh, wow.
And as it leaves the town, it drops in level, so there's no fear of flooding.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. To have a little river going through your garden as well. That's lovely.
That's right, yeah. So that's a very nice walk.
It's a nice, relaxing sound. You know, when I've been going on walks in the last year, sometimes I just go and walk and put on my podcasts and just start listening. And
right, good idea.
It's a lovely idea because it really passes your time. It's not nice if your partner's with you because it's unsociable, but if you're on your own and you fancy going for a walk, put your earphones in, listen to Desert Island Discs or biographies and podcasts, and it's a wonderful way to actually get creative because I've written so many ideas and jokes.
That is a great idea, yeah.
Yes, it's a nice way to open your mind, you know. Yeah, Alan, do you feel like you saw and worked in the best of variety, where the summer seasons were bustling and television was just streaming with variety acts, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, Keith and I turned, as the Simmons Brothers, I turned professional in 1966. Wow. And we made a record for Pie.
Did you?
Two of Keith's compositions, Take Me Where the Sun Shines and Leanne. It didn't do anything, but it got us started. So we made a record and we had a manager and an agent. And the first thing we did was a 6-month summer season on the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
A couple of holiday camps.
Brilliant. Was that because they have a lot of Warners there, don't they? Were they private holiday parks?
They were private. The 2 camps owned by the same company in Nodes Point near Bembridge.
Yes.
And their sister camp was in Fort Walden.
Okay.
It was called Fort Walden over at Freshwater.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
Fort Walden at Freshwater.
Oh,
so we
nice.
used to do 3 nights at one camp and then 3 nights at the other camp.
Oh, brilliant.
Alternating.
So for 6 months that run for, did it?
6 months, yeah.
That's incredible. You know, sort of work, nice contract, isn't it, to have that for that long?
Brilliant, I know. Even then, the clubs were starting to diminish, but we sort of jumped on the tail end of it. And our manager, he originally came from Leeds, so he had a lot of contacts up there. So we worked Leeds quite a few times.
Oh, nice, yeah. What comes to mind is City Varieties, which I've worked about 7 times now. Great venue. I'm sure you've done that.
That's the most played theatre we ever did. I think we did over 70 shows there with 3 tellies, and the rest we just did. It started off as 5 days, then it diminished to 3. I think it's less than that now.
I think it's 2 now because last time I did it, it went down to 2. I'm not saying that my act ruined it,
in the
but
Queen's Hotel.
Yes, I had to find my own digs. So that's how much it's diminished, isn't it? It's so sad how the business That has
Barney
changed
Coburn,
dramatically.
he actually travelled across the Bridlington Spa Theatre to see the show, and which we were in. Paul Squire was topping.
Yes.
Wayne Dobson was on the bill, and Keith and I. And
Wow.
he liked what Keith and I did.
Yeah.
And he booked us on the strength of seeing us to do our first good old days on the telly.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we drove up to do it, and he met us at the theatre stage door and promptly put a white envelope in our hands. And when we opened it, it was from Barney saying there was a strike. I don't know if it was the cameramen or the lighting men. No, it must have been the cameramen. So they couldn't record the show, but would we still do it because they had an audience, all-invited audience turning up.
Oh,
so, of course, we all said yes. There was Ken Dodd topped the bill. Anita Harris was on the bill.
wow.
And our cellar steps gag, which we became known for,
Yes.
Barney had the woodwork department make us what looked like a proper staircase with a newel post. And he said, you can have that.
That's good of him.
So we had to take it apart and ram it in the car because we weren't expecting anything like that.
No.
And we somehow got back home with a new cellar steps. So that was very good.
It's so nice to do that, but when you finish a summer season or a big show and on tour, your car is already full up, so to fit a set of steps in is like...
Tell me about it.
How did you squeeze out? I'm just picturing them on the roof of your car. So where do them steps lead to? Yeah, but you had an older brother, and I know I interviewed you for my book, Ventriloquist, but tell me about your older brother who started out as a ventriloquist.
Yeah, my older brother, Dennis, his name.
Yes.
There used to be a guy, the equivalent of Huey Green, called Brian Mickey.
Okay.
And he used to hold a talent show called Youth Takes a Bow.
Yes.
Morecambe and Wise, actually, they went in for it as well, I understand.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Dennis ever met them, but so that's how they started.
Yes.
And Dennis did quite a few shows for Brian Mickey. He'd get a telegram saying, want you to appear next Tuesday at Tooting, Granada. Say you live locally, and you won't win, but I want variety in the show. So
that's nice. Yeah.
And then Dennis contracted tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And he died in 1949 when he was 20.
Wow.
And he had a dummy, the equivalent of Archie Andrews.
Okay.
Had about 12 controls on it,
12?
And anyway,
Wow.
Mum and Dad sent it back to where it came from, at Davenport's in Great Russell Street in London.
Okay.
Thinking they'd have no need for it because they didn't want it lying about the house.
Oh, no.
But 2 of his practice dummies were left in their wardrobe drawer. And they came home from shopping one day, and I'd found one of these dummies, and I was sitting in front of the mirror doing ventriloquism. When they saw that I could do it, Mum started writing me my scripts.
Ah, how sweet.
They used to run dance bands,
Yes.
playing for dancing, and they'd take me on some of them with them, and in the interval I'd get up and do a 10-minute spot.
Oh, that's so nice that they were so encouraging for you, and
Yeah.
for your mum to write scripts as well. I should have got my mum to write scripts. She's very funny. But to get caught playing with your brother's dolls is not as embarrassing as me, because I got caught playing with my sister's dolls. I was making all them talk, when I
The
started.
only joke I can remember, because it was at the time of the coronation, I was booked to do a show in Bexley Heath, and in the road it was a close, so traffic couldn't drive through it. So they built a stage at the end where you couldn't get out, and people were getting up singing, and they booked me to do my vent act there.
Oh, wow.
And I was paid the princely sum of 1 guinea, 21 shillings, or
Wow.
what's that, 110 pence.
Was it? Is that all?
Seems ridiculous. I felt like a millionaire.
You do back then.
The only joke I can remember that my mum wrote in my act was, we have a coronation in our house every Saturday night. When Dad comes home from the pub, Mum crowns him.
That's lovely. I can picture that.
Ice and Teeth.
How old was Dennis to you? Was he 5 years older, or?
Dennis was, hang on, there's 7 years between Keith and I.
Okay.
6 years between my older brother, so 5 years between Vic and Dennis. So
Right.
5, 6, 7. I've confused myself.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of numbers, that is.
Yeah.
So he was about 8 years older than you, maybe,
Yeah,
or
he must have
something
been,
like
yeah.
that. So did he inspire you and Keith to get into the business, or were you already interested?
It wasn't that. It was Mum and Dad being in show business, playing for dancing all the time.
Oh, okay, right.
So they were very musical. But I wish they'd have encouraged us to play the piano, which they didn't do, because when they were taught, the music teacher used to wrap their knuckles till they bled with a ruler. And they said they would never have any children of theirs, subjected to that same.
That's awful, on the teacher's part. But I mean, very sweet that your parents didn't want you to go through that at any time.
My mum actually was trained to be, or started off being trained as a concert pianist.
Oh, wow.
And she was going to a very strict teacher.
Yes.
But then circumstances prevailed and she lost both her parents. So she had to go and live with an aunt. And she'd left school, so she had to get a job. And she got a job demonstrating sheet music in Woolworths, in Woolwich, in Power Street, Woolwich.
Okay.
And she used to sit there playing the piano, and a bloke would come down from Tin Pan Alley in London, and he'd sing some of the songs of the day and selling the sheet music.
Really?
There was no telly or only had the radio. And a music teacher walked in one day and saw us and snubbed her from that moment on, wouldn't refuse to continue teaching her.
Really?
Apparently.
I find it strange that the piano teacher would wrap their, attack their hands or knuckles, because that's what you need to play. Surely that's not going to help in the long run,
You wouldn't think so. Yeah,
No.
ludicrous.
Oh, that's awful, mate.
Keith, as I said, he's 7 years younger than me.
Okay.
But so when I was about, 21, I was working at a jewellers and pawnbrokers in Woolwich. And Keith bought a guitar. And my dad said to him, I don't want to see a capo on that guitar. I want you to learn to bar the chords with his finger.
Wow.
And Keith bought a book, 4,400 guitar chords, and by Jove, he did learn to play. And then he started writing songs. So when Mum and Dad used to go out playing, they'd leave me sort of babysitting him, and we used to sit and just sing song after song.
That's amazing. This is the repetition of the Beach Boys, how they began, because the parents would go out and they'd go away for a few days and leave the boys money for food. And they went out.
No.
Yeah, and they bought a drum kit and a guitar, and instead of eating, they rehearsed and they wrote songs. The parents came back and they told them off, and then they said, okay, show me what you've learned. And that's how the Beach Boys were born. So sort of similar as the Simmons Brothers, the Wilson Brothers,
Yeah, fantastic.
No, that's amazing that you sat there and just learnt and wrote songs together. I love that.
Yeah, Mum and Dad would then take us some dances, and then we'd get up and sing a song at one of the dances in the interval. So that's how it all started, really. Hence, and we joined a cine club in the 50s. 8mm cine was all the rage because of no video, and we joined a cine club, and we'd been there a couple of years, and we decided Christmas we really need something to liven the membership up, so we put on a Christmas party, and the club members brought their families and friends, so it used to be, getting on for 100 people, I would say.
Wow.
And this was in Blackfen in Sidcup, and we put on a Christmas show, and we roped in another 4 members, and we used to do silly sketches that we'd perhaps seen in a summer show somewhere when we were on holiday.
I love that.
And we'd finish off putting ourselves top of the bill and doing the vent act I had. I used to do a song that was recorded by the Dave Clark Five called I Go to Pieces, Bits and Pieces.
Yeah, I know that song. I like that song.
And I used to make the dummies' heads drop off as we sung that. And,
do you know what? I had a similar... I think us ventriloquists think alike, Alan. I had a similar idea with is it Patsy Cline? I fall to pieces, and I wrote this. I've never done it on stage, but it's one of those ideas that's just written down. Oh, this will be funny. I fall to pieces, and then the head can fall off, the arm can drop off. But you've done it. It's already been done. That's brilliant. Great minds, eh?
So anyway, so then we did do Close Harmony song as well, and there was a guy who joined the Cine Club. He worked at Thames Television, and he said to Keith and I, "There's a girl in my office. Her dad used to be a trumpeter with the Billy Cotton Band, but he's retired from that. But he still wants to dabble in show business. He's looking for an act to manage. Give us a tape of you two singing, and I'll give it to her to let her dad hear," which is what happened. And the next we get a call from this guy. He lived over near Twickenham.
Okay, yes.
Witten in Twickenham in Middlesex. He said, "I've heard you singing. I like what I hear. Can you come over? I'd like to meet you." So we went over and we sang live to him, and he consequently signed us on a 5-year contract and got us a recording contract with Pye. And do you know who our agent was? Michael Black.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he was our first agent.
Michael got me some nice cruise work and a couple of gigs in London, you know. I think we've all worked for Michael. Yeah, bless him.
Yeah.
Oh, no longer with us, Michael, but he was a character, wasn't he, Michael Black?
He was a character, yeah.
Yes.
His office was above a sandwich shop in Great Windmill Street in London.
Wow.
And he had a seat bang on the floor with his foot, whether he wanted 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of sandwiches. And he said it got a bit out of hand one day. He had a flamenco dancer audition in his office.
A whole buffet turned up. I love that. So he was managing you at that time?
Yeah, he handled us.
Yeah, what sort of work did he get you?
For a couple of years. He signed us on. He was more tentative than our manager. He signed a contract for 2 years.
Okay.
And when the record didn't really do anything, we were sort of left on our own with just our manager.
Right, okay.
But he kept us going for the first 5 years. And then while we were on a cruise to the West Indies, we got a telegram saying that our manager had died from a heart attack.
Oh.
So suddenly we were on our own.
Oh, that's sad.
Keith knuckled down and he started ringing round to all the contacts that we had made in those 5 years. And, we went from there.
That's brilliant. Keith's a go-getter, isn't he? He doesn't sit there.
Yeah,
and
very much
you...
so. He used to keep a pad and pencil on a cabinet by the side of his bed. So if he woke up in the night for an idea for a song or for a joke, he'd write it down. Of course, we started as singers, but because of the places we were working, namely these clubs up at north, we worked a place on the outskirts of Leeds. And when we got back to our gigs, which was in a room over a pub, the landlord said, "How did it go?" And I said, "Yeah, all right, but we didn't get much applause." So he said, "Well, they work with their hands up here, they don't applaud." So, oh, blimey.
Wow, it's hard work.
So anyway, to make things a bit better, we thought it'd be a good idea between songs to do a few gags to make us a bit different from just a vocal duo.
Nice.
And that's what started bringing in the
comedy.
Humor, the comedy.
Yeah, well, were you inspired by anybody on TV or radio at that time? Was there anything that you and Keith would sit down and watch or listen to?
Yeah, the only two were Laura and Hardy.
Oh, wow.
They were the two we were absolutely mad on. Because what we admired about them was they didn't depend on verbal comedy. It was all visual.
Yes.
And that's what we liked.
A lot of slapstick.
We made a conscious decision in the early 70s that we had to stop doing jokes that were being told to us backstage.
Yes.
Half of them, but when you cleaned them up, they weren't funny anyway. But
the Max Miller jokes.
Yeah. So we decided to use our own humour and what we found funny, and thank God it worked.
Yeah, well, it certainly did, because I've seen you countless times, and it's just, you have tears rolling down your face, because it's quite fast-paced, isn't it, when you and Keith really got into it? It's such a fast-paced comedy duo. And
the only place that didn't work was down in Cornwall. We were booked to do a week at a club in, I forget the resort, but it was in Cornwall. We were there for the week, and after the first night, we got back to our digs, And Keith said, that was dreadful tonight. He said, why were they so slow in reacting? So we decided to change the pace of our act.
Okay.
And on the remainder of the week, we slowed everything down. And it worked. Suddenly they started laughing and reacting.
That's interesting. So maybe you were too fast for that part of the country. So,
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I had the same when I worked for, I think as you know, I worked for Jimmy Osmond out in Branson in
That's
America.
right, yeah.
And the first night I worked there, I went up and said, was that okay? And he went, yeah. He said, they loved you. He said, but just slow down a little bit. And so when I went back on the next night, I slowed the act down, and from then on it worked. And he was happy, because it was the British accent. They loved the British accent, but they didn't understand what I was saying because I was talking too quick, So they're like that in Cornwall. They're just like America down there.
Yeah,
they're too far away. It's because they're so far away from us.
Another place we were booked to do the equivalent of the good old days, which is here on the BBC, in Gothenburg. In Copenhagen.
Really?
So they flew us out to do it. We were 3 days went out there.
Wow.
And they wanted us to do the cabinet, which, if you remember, where I trapped Keith's nose in the sliding panel.
Yeah. I remember that very
in
clearly.
In this country, it gets a great big laugh.
Yeah.
But in Gothenburg, their reaction was, they all sort of breathed in horror. Oh my God, it's gone wrong.
Yes.
So that was another interesting thing. A lot of what Keith and I did was based on making the audience think things had actually
gone wrong. Yeah. Well, that was the humour of it, wasn't it? But they didn't get that in Gothenburg, though. That was
not in Gothenburg. It didn't happen at all.
Slightly different sense of humour.
Oh, confusion.
No, I do love your style of comedy and the way you deliver, both of you. And the Two Ronnies producer Michael Hurl once said, "There's a rhythm to a joke," and Ronnie Barker was able to show us how that worked, and it worked every time. Your timing, your timing's so incredibly important to your act for it to work, and you both had to be tuned into each other. Now, do you think you must have been tuned in, both of you?
Yeah, oh yes, definitely.
Not just learning the script.
We learned that early on. On the drive home, Keith would say, "You talked over me at that bit." And I said, yeah. So I learned directly. He would suddenly perhaps think of an ad-lib, and he'd come out with it, and I'd have to shut up quick, switch off quickly.
Right.
So that I didn't mess up what he was going to say. Okay. But I got to, as you rightly say, I was able to read what was going to happen.
Yes.
And it worked a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think the fact that your brothers, like Mike and Bernie Winters, Barry and Paul Chuckle, Brian and Jimmy Patton, they've got this connection which makes the synchronicity work, doesn't it, between two people?
Yeah, possibly, yes.
It may have something to do with it.
It's like a marriage, you're on the road. 36 years we were actually a double act professionally.
Wow. Yeah, like Liam and Noel Gallagher, It doesn't always work out.
No, that's true.
So did you and Keith write together? Who wrote the gags?
We got into script writing, actually. I only stuck it for 2 years. The pressure was too much for me. I hated it. I'd go up to his house about 10 in the morning, and I'd be there till 3 in the afternoon, and we'd just write for other people, not for ourselves. We wrote for TVS in Maidstone, the studios there.
Yes.
They had a programme, Five Alive, with Brian Conley and Peter Piper.
Okay.
So we used to write sketches for that, and then we'd go along and watch them recorded. And that was the first time when we walked in the studio, they built this great big set of the interior of a spaceship, and that was just for one of the sketches we'd written. And the feeling was fantastic.
That's amazing. To walk into the studio and see your gag actually built in 3D. I love that.
I can't remember all that we wrote for, but we did stuff for London Weekend, Gary Wilmot, and then Brian Conley liked the way we wrote, so he asked us if we'd carry on writing for him. And by this time I'd had enough, so I said to Keith, "Do you mind carrying on your own?" And he didn't mind, so I pulled away from the script writing.
Right. you've done a lot of pantomimes as well together. How many have you done over the years?
31 pantos I did with Keith.
Wow, that's a lot.
He's just done his 50th.
Yes, he did, didn't he? Just 2 years ago. I remember sending him a card because it is an anniversary, isn't it? And we try and get to 50. I'm only on 11, so I'm never going to make it.
Our first introduction to panto was Theatre Royal in Bath. We had the audition, and we just finished our last day at Butlins Pathelli in North Wales.
Wow.
And our agent, who was in those days Johnny Risco,
okay.
He said, I've got you an audition at the Theatre Royal Bath for panto. Can you drive down there? Be there for, I think it was 2 o'clock. So we left Pathelli. Because there were no motorways, it took us longer than we thought. So we realised we were going to be half hour late. So we upped on the outskirts of Bath, we upped with the bonnet, and Keith dirtied his hands on the engine oil or whatever.
Oops.
And when we got to the theatre, he said, we're going to say the car broke down, and that's what's made us late. So anyway, as we walked in the Theatre Royal, Frank Maddox, the owner and director and head cook and bottle washer, he came down the steps. That's what I call good timing. And we thought he was being facetious.
Oh, really?
So Keith said, ever so sorry, Mr. Maddox, our car broke down. He said, no, you're dead on time. I said 2 o'clock, or whatever it was.
Oh.
And the agent had added half an hour on to make sure we got there, before the allotted time.
Oh, that's a clever manager. That's clever, isn't it? Wow.
So
I do that to my wife.
And we've heard, if the rehearsal pianist is, and they've told us this name, forget it, because he's hopeless. And then we walked into the theatre, and there in the pit was this piano, and Frank Maddox said, this is our pianist, and he said this name we've been told to beware of.
Oh, no.
He said, oh, God, because then we were just vocalists.
Yes.
Anyway, we got through it, we sung these songs, and Frank liked what he heard, so we were booked to be the 2 singing villagers.
Oh, okay.
So we went back to Bath, and that was our first experience of pantomime.
Amazing.
Frank Maddox was the old school,
Yeah,
everything was exact. The evil had to come on from stage left and the fairy from stage right. And
very disciplined.
Yeah, very disciplined. The girls backstage were all on one side of the theatre and the boys were on the other, never shall meet.
That's a shame.
The read-through in the circle bar while the dancers were on stage with the choreographer, if you saw a double meaning in the script, we couldn't understand why no one mentioned it. It was glossed over.
Really?
But that's how it was.
Yeah.
And then we did our first 2 years. He had us back to the Theatre Royal, so we went back the following year. That was exactly the same. The third year, we were booked to go to Swansea Grand with a guy called Derek Roy, who was a big radio star in the 40s.
Yes.
At the read-through in there, everyone, any double meaning, it was mentioned, and that we were all in uproar and laughing and joking. Couldn't believe the difference.
Yeah.
But it was good grounding at the theatre. We did one of the pantos. We did 4 pantomimes, Frank Maddox, at the Theatre Royal Bath.
Okay.
And one of them was Little Bo Peep and her sheep.
That's a strange one to pick, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, he did Jack and Jill and Puss in Boots. Anyway,
Baba Black Sheep.
He had decided to book 4 live sheep. And they used to follow Bo Peep around the stage.
No.
And she had some sheep pellets in her basket, so that they'd encourage them to follow her around.
Oh, yes.
But they weren't house trained, so many a time the sheep would do something on the stage. So to save holding things up, the instruction went out to the stage crew, close the number ones, and while we'll have the principal boy go on and sing a song, you clean up what the sheep have done, and then open the tabs and we'll carry on. So we'd be in our dressing room and we'd hear the principal boy doing a song, and we'd say, the sheep have done something.
So they've closed the number ones and opened the number twos.
Yeah, definitely.
Your partner Julia is in the business. How did you meet Julia?
Yeah, that was great. We were booked to do the Isle of Wight, Shanklin Pier, with the singer Anne Shelton.
Wow.
And I was painting my parents' house. I was doing the bathroom window. I was up a ladder, and Brother Keith came into the bathroom. He said, I think I've got a summer season and Shanklin, Isle of Wight. I said, oh, that's brilliant. So, and that happened. In the meantime, unbeknown to me, this young lady, she was in arts ed, and she applied for this audition. It was to go to Sweden or the Isle of Wight. Well, she wasn't interested. This was her first summer season.
Okay.
So she didn't want to go to Sweden, so she went auditioning for the Isle of Wight.
Wow.
So the audition took place, and they said, oh, all the girls there are sending you to Sweden. And that was Julia's crowd. So anyway, Julia didn't want, so she started getting changed and to go home. So the choreographer came over to her and said, are you leaving? And Julia said, yes, I don't want to go to Sweden. I wanted the Isle of Wight. She said, oh, well, you're not really tall enough for the Isle of Wight. So anyway, Julia carried on, and she came back. She said, we've had a change of heart. We're sending the shorter girls to the Isle of Wight and the taller girls to Sweden. So that was Julia's first summer season. We rehearsed in a pub in Russell Square in London, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
And on the Wednesday, we all turned up, and directly I saw Julia. Cupid took her hand. I just thought, oh my God, what a beautiful looking girl.
Oh, was she tall enough for you?
Yes, she was. And don't say I should have gone to Specsavers. And anyway, we then transferred down to the Isle of Wight ready for the Monday. I wormed my way into her affections. I used to go into Shanklin hoping I'd bump into her in the morning.
Oh.
And this particular morning she's going to the laundrette. So I called her up and used the wonderful phrase, how's my favourite dancer?
Oh, we've all done that.
And I went in the laundrette with her while she did her smalls.
Well, that's a way in.
I used to call for her and take her down to the Shanklin Pier, and we walk up the pier hand in hand. And then gradually word got back to us. We used to pass a fortune teller, a gypsy fortune teller on the pier.
Oh, right.
And word got back to us that this fortune teller had said those two will get married and be together for life.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've been married now 43 years, I think.
The secret is not to ask your wife how long you've been married, isn't it? No, it's lovely. I mean, seeing as Valentine's is just around the corner, that's a lovely story to hear there, Alan. Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you.
Well,
Now,
I couldn't have chosen anyone better. She's been an absolutely fantastic wife. Yeah, I've got to say, she's done quite a few shows that Keith and I were in as well, so we were able to be together.
oh, that's nice to have that opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with both of you and Julia, in shows, and you're both steeped in variety history, aren't you? It's a passion, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
I think the reason I've not progressed as much on TV in my career is because I look back too much. I think it really is in my heart, and I really want people to remember the greats before us. You know, it's important for a young audience not to forget music hall, variety, and pantomimes.
Well, there was someone on the telly recently who had never heard of Max Bygraves, and Julia and I looked at each other in disbelief.
Yeah, you think it's out there in the ether, didn't you? You think everyone knows Max.
Incredible.
Yeah, and that's what my book Ventriloquist is all about. As you know, you're in it, and it's all about ventriloquists, and I don't want people to forget that art because it's...
No, that's right.
It's a brilliant...
Looking back, with hindsight, I can't believe that Keith and I never actually introduced me doing the ventriloquism into our double act.
No, I know. Thinking of that, I can't
believe. We did a silly
believe...
little routine where I'd come out with my original dummy that I was given when I was 12. It's Len... Oh, what's his name?
Belmont. Len Insole. Sorry, Len Insole.
Yeah, Len Insole, yeah. It's the head that I was given when I was 12. And I put it in a little suitcase.
Yes.
And I used to say, ladies and gentlemen, a demonstration of ventriloquism. And then I'd open and close the lid doing the near and distant voice. And then Keith would say, I can do that. And he'd come on with an identical suitcase. And then he'd open it, and it was just a block of wood. And I'd say, what the hell is that? And he'd say, oh, I haven't made it yet. You know, but then he'd go, A, G, C, and be absolutely hopeless. A bit like Sandy Powell was,
Yeah, just like the Morecambe and Wise sketch as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but that's the only ventriloquism we ever did in the act. And then I do Peter Piper picks a pecker, pick a pepper.
Yes.
And while I was doing it, Keith would have to say to the audience, "It's him doing it, it's not me." He'd have to speak to prove he wasn't doing anything.
It gives you a lot of material, a lot of legs in that material for the dummy routine, doesn't it? But I'm quite surprised you didn't do more of it.
I know, so am I, looking back.
Ice and Teeth.
The first theatre show my parents ever took me to was, we went to Weymouth for a holiday. And
Blimey, what, the Keith Harris show?
Yeah, the Weymouth Pavilion, and I saw this
that
poster.
Was brilliant. What a happy season that was.
It was incredible for me. I was a 14-year-old ventriloquist, and I had a puppet with me. I entered a local talent competition in a holiday park, and I turned up, and they said, "Oh, sorry, you've got to be 16 or 18." But they said, it was in a social club actually round the corner. And they said, "But if you want to do 5 minutes, we'll give you a trophy anyway." So I did 5 minutes. And then we went into town and I saw this big poster. And it was Keith Harris, Bobby Crush, the Simmons Brothers. And I begged my parents to take me, and they did. The whole family were crying with tears of laughter. I got to see Keith Harris, Bobby. It was such a great variety show. But that's the first time I saw you. I think that was 89, wasn't it?
Was it 90? I'll be able to tell you in a few moments.
Oh, Google. I've got the flyer somewhere.
Sometimes he'll ring me up and say, "What year did we do so-and-so?" I've got a list of all our pantos and summer season.
I always link a year. If someone says, "Oh, what are you doing in 95?" I can tell them where I was, what season I was doing.
I think it was 90, and then 91 we took that same show up to Blackpool.
Oh, amazing.
To the Sandcastle, but Bobby Crush didn't come with us for that.
Okay. Yeah, but that Weymouth one, the Pavilion show was great. It was packed, wasn't it? Sold out, all these shows.
Yeah, fantastic.
This is amazing. And I then saw you, the next time I saw you was on the Ron Lucas show as guests.
Oh, of course, yeah. We met Ron down with you brought him backstage, or did we? No, you took us round to meet him, didn't you?
Yes,
Do you remember that? Was it the Congress?
At the Congress in Eastbourne. I put a show on probably 30 years later, and I brought Ron Lucas over.
Who the hell are these two?
No, we'd done a couple of shows, and I said that these two gentlemen were guests on your show, and we got a lovely photo together. But it's so nice to reunite people after
very much so,
a few decades. You know, it was brilliant. So I saw you on the Ron Lucas show. I saw you on the Paul Daniels show.
Yeah, that's right. When we parted the Ron Lucas show, he shook our hands and he said, "I hope to come back and be on your own television series one day." I said, "Oh, Ron, that would be brilliant."
That's sweet.
But we thought that was going to happen, actually. We were doing pantomime in Plymouth with Des O'Connor, and the head of Thames Television Light Entertainment travelled down to see the show. And we were doing our flying routine in the panto. And Keith, when we came off stage, he said I could see him laughing. He was wiping his eyes. I said, "Oh, they won't do us any good." Anyway, we were getting washed and changed to go out for something to eat. Knock on the dressing room door, and there's this guy. And he stepped into the dressing room. He said, "Well, boys, I think the time is right for your own television series."
Wow.
And we said, "Oh, fantastic." He says, "Have you got any ideas?" And we said, "Have we? It's all we've ever strived for." So he said, "Well, get your agent to ring me at the end of the season and we'll organise a meal and we'll discuss ideas." So this is what we did. Went to an Italian restaurant in Teddington, met up with him, told him our idea for a series, which he absolutely loved. And then the departing shot was, he said, "Of course, this will only happen if Thames keep the franchise." Well, the franchise was up for sale, and Carlton Television won it, and Thames Television lost it. So that was the end of our television series.
Oh, what a disaster! That's so sad. To see how close you got.
That's right.
And that producer, he didn't move on to another. Did he lose his job, or you don't know what happened?
No, he's still around.
Yeah. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you didn't get that. You guys were just full of charisma, you know. But you were on so many different shows. The Des O'Connor. Des loved you, didn't he?
Edited most of our television appearances, and it's quite good going through them because I've rather than sit and watch them in entirety, as I pushed sword number 1 through the cabinet, I then cut to the other television performance where I, cut on action. So it all sails through as one routine from all the different series.
That's amazing. Are you going to post that, or is that for your own personal use?
No, it's for my own. No, I can't, because Keith and Ben still do that routine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I couldn't do that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'll have to come round, have a cup of tea and see that. I'd love to see it.
No, I'll hold you to that.
When we're allowed to, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, next time I'm in Skegness, I'll pop it. It'd be lovely to see you both.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, there's always a bed here for you, so you can stay if you don't want to drive back the same night.
Oh, thank you. I try not to nudge you both. So, Des O'Connor loved you, didn't he? And you were on Des O'Connor a few times. I saw you in Woking, and I met you again in Woking on the Des O'Connor Simmons Brothers pantomime, and
that's right.
Cinderella it was. And
yeah,
that was a great show. And that's where we got that photograph of me, you, and Keith in the dressing room.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'll post that when I put this out, because it's a lovely picture. And you guys were so lovely to a young budding vent. Yeah.
One story I got is when we did pantomime in Scotland, in Kirkcaldy, the Adam Smith Centre, and it was our return visit. We'd been there the previous year, so we wanted to do something a bit different. So we hired from the Delphont organisation the film of the crazy car, where they project on a screen tearing along the high street, and you sit in a model car on stage in front of it and react.
That's fantastic.
Have you seen it?
I know. I can picture what you're talking about. It sounds brilliant. I've not seen it.
So, okay, the theatre agreed to pay for the maroon to explode, because when the car crashes into a brick wall, that's the tag, and this maroon goes off and leaves the audience shaken, not stirred. And but when we did it, they weren't using the right maroon. It was like the smallest one, so bang was just a bang. It wasn't anything to write home about.
No.
So we said about, can you not get... Oh, no, we can't. So Keith and I found this theatrical suppliers in Edinburgh. So we drove into Edinburgh and said, have you got a maroon, one of the loudest bangs you've got? And they only had one. So we bought it and took it back, and we said to the stage manager, can you use this on the next performance? So he said, yeah. Well, he had to go in a dustbin, which was backstage. So he put this maroon in the dustbin, which wasn't a huge dustbin. And we did the routine, and then this maroon went off. Well, you've never heard a bang like it. It was fantastic.
Really?
The whole audience were like in uproar. The hubbub. And because the guy who follows us on stage, he was a xylophonist called Llewellyn Williams. He used to follow us on. It was Dick Whittington. He'd come on once the lights came up and go straight into his patter. Well, he came on as usual, but there's all this stuff coming down from the flies that had all dislodged, been up there for years, all the dust and mess. That's all drifting down onto the stage. The audience couldn't care less who was on stage, because they were all trying to get over this bang. And he had to stand there several minutes, I suppose, until he could deliver his first line. And when we saw the dustbin, it was blown to smithereens.
No, was it? You can only do that once, surely.
But
wow.
They never pursued it. It had the desired effect as far as we were concerned.
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
No one would have forgotten that, but
No.
they weren't prepared to pay extra, even if they could have got the louder maroon.
Well, no, because you'd have to build those props every show, wouldn't you? There's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. And another time I threw the dancers into chaos. We were doing a summer show in Margate, and I had to sing the song with one of the girl vocalists in the show. You can't take that away from me.
Yes.
And in the part of the song, we may never meet again on that bumpy road to love. That's all it was.
Right.
But this particular performance, I was feeling a bit cocksure, and it was a click track anyway. I thought, well, it won't affect anything. Today I'll sing, we may never, 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 never meet on that bumpy road to love. So I hadn't changed anything as far as I was concerned. So I did it, and I was really pleased with myself. When we came off stage, the head girl got hold of my arm, said, Alan, you won't do that again, will you? I said, why? She said, we were supposed to get up on the second never. So I can't imagine what it looked like behind me.
Oh, that's funny. You did panto also with Eric Sykes, didn't you, with Des O'Connor?
Oh, Eric, what a lovely man he was.
I've read his biography.
He said so many complimentary things about us and the way we worked. It was really great.
That's nice. Wow.
Yeah, he was good. Well, Norman Wisdom, we did 9 tours of Britain with Norman.
Really?
What a fantastic man he was.
What a character. Yeah. There's a lot of those greats that we're not going to see again. Is there, Alan?
And Ken Dodd, of course, we did summer season with him in Southport, pantomime in Birmingham with him, and then I don't know how many one-nighters with him. He used to ring us up and book us directs.
Wow.
And then we did a Radio 2 series with him.
Okay.
Called Ken Dodd's Palace of Laughter, where we had to play different characters, like just voice characters, you know.
Amazing. There's like a voiceover. Well, it's like Educating Archie, really. You know, like a variety show on radio. A ventriloquist on radio, as we know, is a novel.
Oh, no, ludicrous, isn't it?
It's known that Jerry Lewis and Dee Martin fell out, didn't they? And Cannon and Ball didn't speak for 3 years.
We followed Cannon and Ball into the future of Scarborough the following year, and the number 2 dressing room was fantastic. And when I queried it, they said it's because Cannon and Ball last year one dressing room couldn't be better than the other.
Really?
So, yeah, they had to have the same in dressing room 1 and 2.
They were matching dressing rooms. They both looked exactly immaculate, the same.
Yeah, apparently. So Cilla Black had number 1 and we had number 2. So that was quite nice.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. Oh, a bit of Cilla as well. But you and Keith have never fallen out. You've always got on as brothers. And...
Oh, yeah. No, I was only talking to him the other day. So, yeah, he keeps me informed various things. And Ben has got his own radio show on... Phoenix FM in Essex.
He just celebrated 150 shows yesterday, didn't he?
I listened to it last night.
Yeah, very proud. I'm going to have to catch up on that. I only found out this morning, so I missed it.
Right.
Yeah, but he's a lovely guy, Ben, as well. And so that you ended up leaving, didn't you? So with that was health reasons, wasn't it, Alan? You left the Simmons Brothers.
No, there wasn't enough work. That was basically the problem.
Oh, really? So it was
going into all the script writing, and I wasn't.
Okay, so it went quiet.
The agent wasn't able to get us the sort of shows we were going out. They expected blue stuff, and I wasn't. Well, neither of us were prepared to go down that avenue.
No.
So I said to him about, I've got myself an offer of a 9 to 5 job. Would you mind? So reluctantly he had to agree, and he carried on with the script writing. I mean, when we were rehearsing for panto, he'd get a call he'd written another panto for someone in panto. They'd ring him up and say, could you do any gags on so-and-so? And during rehearsals for our panto, he'd be sitting writing material for someone else.
Oh, all right.
which I could never do.
Yeah.
So we parted company, and I got a job as an operations manager at a costume character company.
Okay.
So when you saw Bob the Builder or Postman Pat, it was me that booked the person to go in the costume and a road manager to look after them. I'd have to book the car and the hotel and all this business, depending on where they were appearing.
Yes.
And I did that for 8 years.
Well, do you know what? I was doing a festival one time, and Julia walked up to me, your lovely wife Julia, and I think it was it Teletubbies or something? You must have been something like that, yeah. And I was taking my daughter Lola, who was like 2 years old, to meet a Teletubby. It was one of those character costumes. Peppa Pig. It was Peppa Pig.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And I can't remember where it was.
That was huge at the time. Peppa Pig.
I think it was a theme park or something, and we took her to meet, and Julia was there. I couldn't believe it. It was so lovely to see her.
Yeah, I used to book her to road manage some of the costumes.
Yes.
As I've been doing it for 2 years, when I suddenly realised I'd missed an audience.
Yes.
So I went on eBay and located a ventriloquist dummy from a place in Colorado called the Marla Studios.
All right.
And I bid for this little boy dummy and bought him. And he came through the post from Colorado, and I called him Denny in memory of my brother who died.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so I concocted an act, and I started putting this up. So although I was still working for this costume character company, on my days off, I was able to do residential homes and the odd variety show here and there in the theatres.
Yeah.
So I was still maintaining a contact with an audience.
Yeah, keep your hand in, so to speak, as a ventriloquist. But you say you parted ways with Keith, but did you finally realise that within the ventriloquist double act, you still get twice the fee?
Well, that's right. Yeah, I don't pay the dummy 50%, which makes a big difference. Yeah.
No, that's nice. And as a ventriloquist, it is a double act, isn't it? The ventriloquist. So,
very much so.
But we have to learn both the lines, but we have to deliver both the lines. Whereas when you're a double act with your brother, you have to learn both the lines because you need to know what he's going to say.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
but you have to remember. Right. Yeah, you have to remember not to talk when he does, like you said. So was it?
I might strangle myself.
Was it difficult? Yeah. Was it difficult to go back to the vent act after so many years? No,
I found it quite simple. In fact,
I guess it was quite natural because you started off doing that.
Yeah. Yes, I suppose so.
Oh, contributional.
Oh, wonderful. Alan, it's really lovely to catch up with you and to talk about these great days, because I remember working with you both last time we did. It was for Bella Remberg's lunch in London. And you were on the bill, Julia was on the bill, and I had to follow Russ Abbott. I was very nervous. So I've worked with Julia twice, but the last time I worked with both of you was the Bella Remberg, wasn't it? So that's Julia's a lady rattling, isn't she?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Please pass my love. But hello, sweetheart. You're right. Or is...
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you on the phone. Is that your telephone voice?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like you. Is Alan doing that voice?
His voice, yeah. He's changed sex as well.
Oh, bless you. This is probably my phone voice.
Yeah, we're keeping out of mischief anyway, keeping busy. We did an outdoor festival, actually.
Last November?
It was, just...
in between lockdowns.
Yeah, during lockdown, it was a bit strange. They put a trailer thing up, and we that was the stage. But there was the lighting and everything, sound. It was good,
Theatre car park.
Yeah, it was just
wow.
It was just so weird having the audience so far away,
Yeah.
But they loved it. I think they're just starved. When we get back to normal, I think they'll be coming out in their droves, hopefully.
I think venues will be busy again, and theatres, and I'm holding on to that thought anyway. I think it would be nice to for everybody, on stage and in the audience, to actually
definitely.
They want to laugh again. They want to sing again.
We did a showbiz luncheon on the Isle of Wight when we were over there years ago, and Jimmy Tarbuck travelled over to be one of the ex-plumbers.
Wow.
We had the mayor of Ryde there as a lady, and Jimmy Tarbuck got up to make his speech. He said to the lady mayor, can I ask, do you know the difference between a chicken leg and a man's willy? And she blushed up and said, well, no. He said, would you like to come on a picnic? Which made everybody laughing. Only he could get away with it.
Yeah, I saw Tubby on the Isle of Wight twice, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, when Neville King was supporting both times.
Right.
Yeah, Neville got me up, actually. Sandown Pier. I went on my day off because I was working at Whitecliff Bay Holiday Park. And my days off was on Sunday. And I went to see Richard Digance and Stan Boardman the next Sunday. And then Jimmy Tarbuck with Neville King. And I went to, and I sat on the front row, and Neville King got me up to do the Stooge, when he sings.
Did he know you or not?
No, he didn't. He didn't know I was a vent or anything. I didn't tell him until afterwards. But Yeah, and he makes that guy at the front of the. It was the runaway train went down the track and she blew, and I had to do the movements, like a train. But I was the camp one. He made me the camp one, which is. Which is, I was sat on my own as well. I only went because I loved the theatre. I was 19 years old, camp ventriloquist dummy. He gave me a voice though, but I can say I've worked with Neville.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he was lovely.
But did you work with Neville, both of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just trying to think. Bridgewater.
Okay.
In Somerset, they used to do their equivalent of the good old days. And they always used to end. All the company on stage had to sing "Land of Hope and Glory."
Okay.
So, do you all know it? Of course, oh yeah. And then as we started singing it, realised we didn't. So the girl singer in the show, she said, "Don't worry, I'll write it out on this paper, this A4, and I'll hold it behind my back. So, and I'll step forward.
That's lovely.
You can all be able to read the lyrics." Well, to the audience, it must have looked like we were looking at her butt because that's where she held the paper.
That's brilliant. That's a good excuse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And if I'm up near you once we're open again, I'll pop in if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, yeah.
I'd be lovely to see you. And I'll just send you a message, Julia, if you're okay to set a date.
Yeah, smashing. All right. Then.
I mean, I don't mean to go out to dinner without Alan. I mean to talk.
Nice one.
Happy Valentine's.
Stay while he's not here.
Got a gear. Yeah, I'll bring another dummy. That's a foursome then, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Oh, bless you.
Look after yourself and thanks for going.
Thanks so much. Love you both.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya. Bye, Alan. Thank you.
Cheers.
Ice and Teeth.
Thank you to Alan and Julia Simmons, who I will feature at a later date. You can connect with Alan on Facebook and see his upcoming shows. Today's quote comes from Des O'Connor. People are worrying too much about things today. We should learn to worry when something happens rather than if something happens, because half the things that you worry about in your life are never going to happen anyway. Cheers, Des. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Lola, Larissa and Nina Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. The Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Water Rat Kevin Dean. Join me next time on Eyes and Teeth, the Water Rats, when I talk to comedian turned agent, promoter and producer, Johnny Mans. Johnny Mans. Johnny Mans. I need to get it right. It's Johnny Mans. It's Johnny Mans. It's Johnny Mans.